So, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is finally out, and I can't wait to play.
Glad I never bought it. Played it for about 20 min. I'll never play again. It was worse than Breath of the Wild, and that was a bad game. I knew this was gonna be terrible. Went in with low expectations, and now I have no expectations. I'll never buy another Zelda game after Breath of the Wild, and I regret buying it. Better off playing Candy Crush on your phone for free. More entertainment value. No one wants broken gear and stupid clothes. You still can't pet the dogs. I also have genuine complaints about too much copy/pasting and unimproved mechanics over the first game, but this one feels like they did it on purpose. If this game gets Game of the Year, I'ma throw my heads at my TV so hard the screen doesn't just break, the entire TV blows up if it's such a bad game. Frame rate was terrible, gameplay was mid, and the plot is trash.
Tedious and unnecessarily labour intensive.
Graphics are honking. Gameplay feels clunky. Please do not buy this game. It's just a money grab from Nintendo. Terrible game.
So, is the game Tears of the Kingdom worth buying based upon what people are saying already? That's what this video is about. I have not bought or purchased Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom yet. I have simply just gone on YouTube, gone on articles, gone online, and I basically read up a bunch of stuff about the game. I've spent the past few days researching Tears of the Kingdom. I've not played it yet. I've seen the trailer. I've now watched about 10 videos of gameplay and walkthroughs and theory videos on people that like it and don't like it. This video is basically, will I buy Tears of the Kingdom based on what's out there? What people are saying on YouTube, what people are saying on articles, what people are saying, basically. And I think it's a very important perspective for people like me, and maybe you, if you've not got the game, to really sit down and think and take into consideration if the game is worth buying or not. A lot of us take our money very seriously, and that is very vital when coming to buying games. We want to make sure the game we are buying is definitely worth our time. Is it worth putting all our money into and going all out? Just because the game is really big and hyped up by a company, by people around us, we're still going to be like, is it really worth that amount of money? Considering Legend of Zelda is $70. I'm going to basically review what I know of Legend of Zelda and what the differences are between Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild from what we know, and is it worth buying? From all the information out there, all the gameplay videos, is it worth buying since Breath of the Wild? Should we play it? So let's get straight into it. First of all, I would like to start off with the trailers. The trailers of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now you're probably thinking, why are you bringing Breath of the Wild's trailer up? You know, it's not relevant, that came out years ago. Well, actually, I found it quite interesting. I watched the Tears of the Kingdom trailer, as did many people when it came out, and I was not exactly that impressed. Let's just say that. I gave the trailer at first sight a 7 out of 10, which is mid. You know, it was a mid trailer. It wasn't bad. I didn't dislike the trailer. I just thought it was pretty mid. Now, the reason for that is because I wasn't exactly blown away compared to the Legend
of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, I'm not saying that the Tears of the Kingdom trailer was bad. I thought it was a great trailer. It brought to life some of the really good things in the game. But personally, I was more blown away by Breath of the Wild when that first came out, because it was the start of a new game, a new series, a new chapter in the Legend of Zelda series, and that's what really excited me about Breath of the Wild. And also, I'll go into the fact in a minute that they were also extremely similar, so I wasn't as amazed as I was when I first saw Breath of the Wild.
The trailer for Tears of the Kingdom didn't excite me as much as the Breath of the Wild trailer, and the reason for that is because they are incredibly similar.
Do not look away.
So I think it's important to get out there that it's a sequel, because if you've not played Breath of the Wild yet, then you probably might want to do that. Play Breath of the Wild, then play Tears of the Kingdom, because Tears of the Kingdom is literally a sequel game to Breath of the Wild. The story is very deep. It's a JRPG. The new Legend of Zelda series on the Switch that has just started, so Breath of the Wild, now Tears of the Kingdom, it's a JRPG. It's a story intertwined. There's a story intertwined in the game, very deeply, and that makes the game a whole lot more fun, emotional, you name it. So therefore, you're not going to fully appreciate Tears of the Kingdom if you've not played Breath of the Wild. So go over and play Breath of the Wild if you've not already. With my experience, I have played Breath of the Wild. I don't own the game personally because I've not got a Switch. I'm saving up for a Switch, so that should be fun. I have played a couple of hours on Breath of the Wild on a friend's Switch, and you know, I know about the storyline and stuff also through gameplay videos and things like that. So, from my knowledge of Breath of the Wild and now my knowledge of Tears of the Kingdom now it's been released, you should play Breath of the Wild first. Now, there are some comments that I've heard that are saying things like, oh, Hyrule from Breath of the Wild has literally just been copy and pasted into Tears of the Kingdom. There's no effort at all. It's rubbish. It's been copy and pasted. That's what everyone's saying. You know, a lot of haters are saying it's been copy and pasted because it looks the same. Now, you're a bit of a knucklehead if you're saying that, because it is still Hyrule. It is literally the same land that is in Breath of the Wild. It's just different. Hyrule is different in Tears of the Kingdom. It's a lot different. But it's because of the story change. Again, it's a sequel game. So Hyrule is different because it's been impacted by the story from Breath of the Wild. It's changed. There's changes to Hyrule due to the change in the story since Breath of the Wild. So therefore, people who are saying, oh, it's, you know, it's literally the same thing. It's not the same thing, but yeah, it is still Hyrule, so it is the same Hyrule, but it's just different. There's a lot of new things added as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but it's not been copy and pasted at all. It's just Hyrule, but it's changed due to the change in the story, because it's a sequel. So, now you know it's a sequel, let's talk gameplay and features. What's new? What's the new gameplay and features? Have they improved anything since Breath of the Wild? What are the new things that they have included in the game? First of all, cooking. Cooking and recipes. That's the first thing which has been introduced, which is new. You can make recipes and you can cook. You can let him cook. You can cook food. And this is very vital in the game. So the game is extremely creative. We're also going to go into the more creative style in a minute. But it's really creative because you can forage plants and critters and monster parts to make meals for yourself. And there's a cookbook for you to store your recipes in so you can go back and look in and see what you want to make. It's similar to Monster Hunter in that sense, that you can forage and collect items. You're going to probably think, well, what's the point of that? Why is it just a gimmick? No, it's not a gimmick. In fact, it's got a number of advantages that help you in the game. Basically, cooking. Cooking actually helps you in more ways than one. For instance, some dishes can help you with coping with environmental changes. For instance, if you cook a spicy fruit and mushroom mix, it gives you 10 minutes and 30 seconds of cold resistance. So make that, and you'll be good to go in the cold weather. So you can plan out your journey through, I don't know, the winterland that you're travelling through, and then you can eat this spicy fruit mushroom mix and get 10 minutes and 30 seconds of cold resistance, which is great. So yes, one of the new features they've added is cooking and recipes. I think this new feature is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to doing some cooking in this game. Now, second feature that's been introduced to Tears of the Kingdom is weapon fusion. This is one of my favourite new features in the game. Weapon fusion allows you to basically use collected materials to upgrade and create weapons. So you can get a stick and a rock, fuse them together, you've got something more powerful. You can create weapons using materials that you've collected, and that is super cool. It adds a whole new level to weapons in the game. Now, it's important to note that weapons do break, unfortunately. That's one of my pet peeves in games, particularly. I hate it when a weapon breaks or an item breaks. When I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf for the first time and my axe kept breaking before I got a golden axe, I was just mentally mad, and I just hated my item breaking over and over again. I just hate that. And that's one of the annoying things about this. They've not got rid of that aspect. But then again, I guess it is more realistic in real life. If you keep hitting something with an item over and over again, the item probably is eventually going to break or implode because it's an item of object. It's material. Materials break. Items still break in the game, but therefore fusion can help you with that. So you can boost your attack and defense stats. You can create more powerful weapons that, you know, they're not going to break easily. So using fusion, you can create the best possible weapons for you, and that's really cool. And there's so much materials in this game to collect. So because there's so many materials and weapons out there, get collecting. Start looking for materials all over the place. Forage. Make sure you collect every single item and plant that you come across, because you never know how that may come into use further on in the game, either with a recipe or with fusing two items together to make a strong weapon. it's very creative in that sense. There's so much you can do. Personally, that's what also makes this game look very appealing and very fun. Now, with the creative aspect, there also is a lot more to do with creativity in this game, apart from fusing weapons and making recipes and cooking dinners. You can also construct items. You can construct hot air balloons, rafts, you can construct things. That's what I love about this game. You can make, build, and let your imagination go wild. And that looks so fun in a JRPG, to create things and, you know, survive against the harsh conditions of as whatever's happening in Hyrule. So, because that is so fun, there is actually a website that some fans have produced. I recommend you go check it out, where you can actually look at other creators and gamers' creative ideas on the game, what they've made and created, and you can look at them and get ideas and get inspiration of what to make in your game. So you have one big community talking about all the creative aspects in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So really cool stuff there. There are a bunch of new abilities in the game, and one of them is really cool, and it is literally called Recall. Now, Recall is very interesting. It's almost like a psychic power. In Breath of the Wild, you could freeze objects if they're coming at you, but in Tears of the Kingdom, you can actually reverse the direction of where the object was coming from. So let's say a boulder's coming at you, you can freeze it, and then you can send it back the way it came. So let's say you're being attacked by some monster and he throws a boulder at you, or an arrow, or who knows what. You can use Recall to freeze that and send that right back at him, smacking him in the face, killing him. Sweet revenge. So, another really cool ability that they've added to Tears of the Kingdom, and it looks so cool. I'm so excited to test out Recall. And you can not just use it in battles, you can use it to get around. Items that are floating around, you can freeze them, get on them, and you know, you could travel places using Recall. You can do a lot of more things than, you know, get revenge on enemies. So, another great ability that works wonderfully in more ways than one. Moving on to new locations. Now, this is what everyone's kind of hyped up about. Hyrule from Breath of the Wild is in Tears of the Kingdom. It's just changed due to the past story. But because it's a new game, things have changed since then. There's a lot of new places, new locations, new towns, new dungeons to explore. Let's take a look at a bit of what's been added in the game. So, of course, number one, you still have the Sky World. Now, Sky World was in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and you could use like a paraglider to go around. In Tears of Kingdom, the Sky World still exists, and there's, you know, it's changed as well due to the past in Breath of the Wild. But it's yeah, you can still explore the Sky World, and that's got a whole load of new things to do up there. And yeah, they've added like an ability where you use a gust of wind, where you can kind of propel yourself into the air, which makes paragliding a lot more easier. So yeah, not really that impressed by the gust of wind ability, to be fair. One of my friends actually does not like the Sky World. He finds it annoying. He would rather be on the ground. So I do understand that some people just don't like flying around like a bird. Dungeons, of course. Legend of Zelda is not Legend of Zelda without dungeons with the boss. There are dungeons in the game, and there are new dungeons in the game, and that comes with new bosses. Now, location wise, there are two new very important things to this game that make it a lot more fun. First thing is the underworld. Yes, there is now an underworld in Legend of Zelda, and that is really amazing. Like, there's never been an underworld. There's always been a sky world. Now there's an underworld. So I'm really interested. I've not really watched too much gameplay and videos on the underworld out there. Again, the game's been pretty much spoiled for me because I've watched about 2-3 hours of gameplay from the beginning. But yeah, the underworld looks really cool. So you can explore under Hyrule, underneath Hyrule, and that brings across a lot of new dangers, a lot of new items, and a lot of just new places to explore. The underworld. So that is really amazing. There's an underworld in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as well. So you've got a sky world and an underworld. And along with the underworld, you've now got caves. These aren't just any old caves, they're hidden away far into like the cliff face or the rock face of a place. And they're very hard to access. But when you access them, there's like a whole cave system underground. It's amazing. There's so much things to explore. And within a cave system you can collect weapons, rare items and a lot more, and battle enemies as well. And you can battle enemies as well. There's a lot of strange things lurking around in caves. And this is a really fun feature because it just adds a lot more depth to the game. Looking for caves and trying to get into the caves and explore them. And like, they're not easy to access either. Like, you have to blow some boulders up sometimes to get into them, or you need to go down some precipice and get into the caves. There are a lot of caves hidden around the game, and you can often get rare items in the caves, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, caves and the underworld are the main two new things that have been added in location wise, and of course there are new towns and stuff, but I'm not exactly that familiar with them. I would also like to point out there is still puzzle elements to this game. I've seen quite a lot of complaints complaining that it's not as puzzly as they wanted, you know. Back compared to, you know, Legend of Zelda on the 3DS, there's a lot more confusing things to do. Personally, I hated Majora's Mask for the 3DS. I just did not like it at all. In fact, I only played 10 minutes of it, and I just didn't know what to do. There was a time limit, and there was a moon in the sky, and the moon had a face, and then the moon blew up and obliterated the entire world. So that kind of traumatised me, and I never played the game again. So I'm not a fan of puzzles, to be fair. I've never really been a fan of the Legend of Zelda type puzzles, but I do know a lot of people do like that for Zelda. They do like the puzzle-like aspects in games. For instance, Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds, I did love that game, and it's got a few like mind puzzles of how to get into dungeons and things, and that is quite fun. And I don't understand a lot of people do like Zelda for that. They have been known for their puzzles. There are still puzzle elements in Tears of the Kingdom. Very important to note. For instance, the Hylian Shield. In order to get that, you've still got to work out where to find it. You need to find the cave, which is kind of like in a very awkward place. And then in the cave, go through the cave. Then you need to get an arrow, light the arrow on fire with one of the braziers, then shoot the big brazier, and then the Hylian shield chest should come out of the ground. Now, that isn't like the best puzzle ever, but you know, it's still a puzzle. It's still, you still wouldn't know it's there unless you were creative and thought outside the box of what to do. So that's not the only thing. There are elements to Tears of the Kingdom that are for puzzle-minded people who like to solve things and hit switches to open certain doors. It isn't as apparent, but I do know it is in the game, so don't worry, give it a try, give it a play and see what you think. As for someone who does not like puzzles really, I'm kind of glad if it doesn't have much puzzles, so yeah, sorry puzzle people. So far talking about the game, it's very detailed. There's a lot you can do, from blowing up rocks to finding hidden cave systems to creating items. It's a really, really creative game and detailed game. It pays attention to detail. And one of the things that we all love about games are NPCs. Now, there are your fair amount of NPCs in this game, a lot, all over the place. And the NPCs do play a very important role in the game. For instance, if you speak to some of the islanders, they'll tell you where to find a weapon and they'll mark it on your map where to find that weapon, which cave to go into. And they'll mark it on your map and it's your job to go and find it. Go and find that location and find that hidden weapon. So, talk to NPCs, do quests, they will pay you in return. So, yes, if you like doing quests and you like NPCs, then you're going to like this game. From what I've seen, there's actually an option that is not in Breath of the Wild. You can literally tow NPCs from place to place, which is, I guess, one of the quests. I don't know, I'm not exactly that wised up on it. But you can actually carry NPCs around in a carriage on your horse. You can connect your horse to a carriage, and that looks quite cool. It looks quite cool that you can tow NPCs around, you know, that's pretty bloody cool. But I'm not exactly too sure about that feature too much, but I do know there's a new feature there. So yeah, NPCs are very important. They help you find weapons, hidden items, and yeah, you can do quests for them and they will give you things in return, which is very important. New enemies, new bosses, you know, new dungeons. So yeah, in Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, as I said, it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild. So I would like to say one thing about characters. There are characters from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild that are actually in Tears of the Kingdom because it's a sequel. It's like Zelda, Link, and Prince Sidon, for instance. I'm bringing him up because he's my favourite character in Legend of Zelda. I love Prince Sidon, and he is in Breath of the Wild, and he is also in Tears of the Kingdom, which is really good news. We also have new characters as well. It's not a complete sequel without new characters, new enemies. We do know Ganondorf, he is the enemy, but he has been revived. He's the revived evil king. Now, enemies, new enemies. You know, we've got new enemies. We do know King Ganondorf. He is the evil king that's been revived. it's a very deep story game. So the story is very much entwined deeply into the game, which makes it a great game. There's such a deep emotional story to follow in this game. From the start of the game, where Ganondorf is revived and Zelda's arm is attacked and he gets that cool looking tattoo going down his arm and onto his chest, which I think is pretty damn cool. But yeah, the story is very much entwined in the game. Along with King Evil Ganondorf, you also have new enemies to fight, and along with the new enemies there are also new bosses. And new bosses means new dungeons, and that's really cool. One of the new enemies that I'm going to mention which look quite cool are the constructs. Now, constructs are a mech type enemy, and the interesting thing about a construct is they can wield more than one item or a weapon, and that weapon can be fused. They can fuse their own weapons, cheeky little buggers. The fact that they can literally smash you in the face with more than one weapon, and they can fuse the weapons, show they're pretty intelligent guys. So battling with them will be more of a challenge, but I think they're a pretty cool new enemy to the game. So, a lot of new challenges, a lot of new creative ideas, and a whole new chapter of Legend of Zelda history awaits you in Tears of the Kingdom. So, it's time for my summary. Today, I've literally briefly touched on some of the stuff that is new to the game and the features I think that are mentionable that kind of give this game its character and its life. So from what I've talked about today with new features, from making food recipes to fusing items to the underworld exploration, the caves, the new items, the new location, the new characters, the new chapter in the story, the revival of Ganondorf, it looks amazing, honestly, in my opinion. Yes, the trailer was very similar to Breath of the Wild. It wasn't that appealing, but after digging deeper into how different the game actually is, I'll let them off. The trailer was similar because it literally is a sequel. They could have made it better, but I can't really complain because the game does look super good. All the bad reviews that I've read on Google don't make much sense. It's usually just bias. It's like, oh, this game looked annoying, so I threw my headset at the screen and blew it up. Well, and the graphics were honking. I don't know, it was actually, these Google reviews that came up at the beginning of the video were legit reviews. And they just don't make much sense. It's literally, I've never heard in my entire life the word honking and graphics being honking, but I guess if you think that Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom's graphics were honking, do let me know in the description below. Was it honking? Is honking... Yeah, a lot of the bad reviews don't really add up. I found it really hard to find a bad review on Legend of Zelda that makes sense. Most of them were just biased gibberish. It didn't make much sense. It was just kind of, I didn't like the graphics, it was a money grab. There was no explanation really to why they didn't like the game. There were a few, and that is respectable. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, having not set my hands on the game at all, simply watching the trailer, simply watching people's ideas or people's reviews on YouTube, good and bad, honestly, I would like to say I'm going to rate this game a 8 out of 10 from what I've seen. From what I've seen, it could change if I play it. And the answer to my question, should I buy Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, is a yes. After seeing all this stuff, I'm super excited, and it sold it. All this has sold it to me. I will buy the game. I think it is pretty cool. In a YouTuber that I watch who does gaming videos as well, called RGT85, he said that you need to play the game to do it justice. He did a video explaining that why he couldn't review it, because the game is just so vast and so much to do in the game, and that, from what I've seen, is understandable. There's just so much to the game, from the story, the new characters, the new features. It's hard to review, so I'm just making a review of what I've seen online and if I should buy it from what I've seen. And yeah, I'm getting positive vibes. I can't really see a valid point of why I shouldn't get the game. And I definitely hope I don't throw my headset at my TV until it blows up. I do think that it's definitely worth getting. And I will be getting a Nintendo Switch very soon, Nintendo Switch OLED, and I'll be doing an unboxing video on my channel. If I do get around to getting my Switch eventually, I will be getting Tears of the Kingdom after playing Breath of the Wild. And yes, it sold it to me. The game looks great, and I'm looking forward to it. thank you so much guys for watching this video till the end, and if you liked it, please give it a like, and please do subscribe to the channel and, you know, turn the notifications bell on if you want to see more of my face and Nintendo content. Now the footage used in this video for Tears of the Kingdom is not my own, of course, because I don't own the game, so therefore the footage and their rightful owners will be in the link in the description below. But until I see you in another video guys, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Now, I'm off to go and buy my Nintendo Switch.